Have you ever heard the saying that the root of all evils never falls into debt? It sounds like slavery, and to a certain extent it's true, because when you're drowning in debt, your life is compromised. While you try to pay off your debts, they don't wait for you to gather money. They grow day by day as nobody lends money for free. There are always interests despite all this. The United States has embraced this, and the total consumer debt in the US is almost $15 trillion, averaging more than $5,300 per household in debt. The US GDP is a little over $24.7 trillion, meaning the entire economy consists of this. But I have some good news for you. It's not always bad. This is an unpopular opinion because most of the debt we have is bad. You probably have credit card debt, a car loan, housing debts, and maybe student loans, and you're thinking it will take decades to pay off all these debts. How could this be something good? To understand how this could be something positive, let's take a look at how wealthy individuals still use this to make even more money. It might seem a bit confusing, as why would someone with a lot of money use debt in the first place? It's supposed to be used by people who don't have money, but that's not how capitalism works. This is a powerful tool if you know how to use it, and in this video, you will discover how rich people use it, to make even more money. So, give this video a like. And let's get straight to the point. Number 1. Hedge funds. Hedge funds are created by the rich for the rich to get even richer and typically employ unpopular strategies. Common people like you and me do our best to predict which companies will grow and increase in value, investing the money we've worked so hard to earn, hoping these companies will thrive. However, hedge funds often employ a completely opposite strategy. They aim to make money when companies fall or go bankrupt, as was the case with GameStop, where the internet challenged hedge funds and led them to lose over $13 billion. But how do hedge funds make money from debt? Let's say you expect a particular stock to fall. Like Facebook, because you know that Apple, which produces the most popular smartphone, will announce next week that it won't allow apps like Facebook or Instagram to track your online activity and will prioritize privacy, which will greatly harm Facebook's business model. So, you pick up your phone and call your broker to borrow a single share of Facebook from them, which costs, let's say, $100, and instantly sell it in the market for $100. Congratulations, now you have $100 in your pocket, but you still owe your broker a share of Facebook. Let's say you're right, and next week, the price of Facebook's shares drops to $70. You use that $100 to buy a share of Facebook for $70. Since the price has dropped, and return it to your broker, keeping the difference, congratulations, you've earned $30 with a single share. This might sound simple in theory, but it's extremely difficult and risky in practice. What if you're wrong? What if the price doubles overnight? Still, you'll have to return that single share of Facebook to your broker and pay interest for borrowing that share. Now you'll have to repurchase that share for $200 to return it to your broker. When you buy a stock and try to sell it when it rises, the maximum loss is the amount you invested, but not in the case of shorting. If the price keeps rising, your losses theoretically increase indefinitely. As theoretically the stock price can rise indefinitely, but if you have 100 analysts working for you, you can make a fortune using this strategy. Number 2. Loans. Most commerce is based on this. It might seem a bit controversial because borrowing money to start a business is a terrible idea, and personally, I would never do it. But there are businesses, especially traditional ones, where using this is your best option. Let's say you want to sell pens. It's a very common product, and there's practically always demand for them. Ideally, you'd fly to China, find a factory that produces this type of pen with good quality and a suitable price. You'd buy a container of pens, ship them to the US, and distribute them to your customers, but nowadays this is mostly done online through sites like Alibaba, unless it's a more complicated product where you have to visit the factory. But here's the trick. You don't actually need to pay for the products to have the product first. Let me explain how. In the last 50 years, China has become the world's factory, producing literally everything. Thousands of factories work tirelessly to produce everything the world needs, and to facilitate sales. Most of these factories would be happy to lend you their products as long as you pay them at some point in the future. Of course, they wouldn't lend to strangers, so you'll have to build some kind of trust with them first. But that's how business has been working for the last 50 years. Once the customer sells the product in the US or anywhere else in the world, they would pay the factory and order more products. Essentially, you're telling the factory that you know how to produce and can help them sell. If I can sell it for a price above this, that will be my profit. What makes this strategy great is that you're not using your own money in this transaction. That's why selling is one of the most important skills you can master. Number 3. Refinancing. Real estate debts are the best kind of debt because they are full of loopholes. If you don't have a mortgage, you're paying extra taxes. Wealthy people always have several mortgages to get all these deductions. Remember, every dollar you should pay in taxes but instead save is an extra dollar earned. So this is another way the rich get richer. But let me give you a more practical way. This is basically how the rich get richer in the real estate market. Let's say you've saved $200,000. That's a lot of money, but honestly, it's spare change for the wealthy. You can't even buy a house with that. Of course, you can't get a mortgage of up to $800,000 since you have to make a 20% down payment, but here's the secret. Let's say you find a property that costs $500,000. It's in poor condition and needs some or maybe many renovations. You go to a bank and get a mortgage making a 20% down payment. Let's say you'll spend about 10% of the total cost of the house to renovate it, or about $50,000. You go back to your bank again, but this time to refinance your mortgage. When you got your first mortgage, the value of that property was only $500,000 because it was in such bad condition that no one wanted to live there. But as you renovate it, now there are people who want to rent. So the market value of that property, let's say, increases to $700,000 as it was the first time. Let's say you're going to get an 80% mortgage, but 80% of $700,000 is $560,000. $400,000 of that money goes to your first bank that gave you the initial mortgage. And let's deduct another $50,000 that you spent on renovation. And you'll be left with an extra profit of $110,000. You've earned $110,000 using this method and still have a property you can rent to build equity and generate passive income. Furthermore, you'll avoid paying taxes because you have a mortgage. This is a very common practice among real estate investors. After all this, can you see this in a negative light? I leave this question for you to answer in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like. And if you're new here, subscribe and turn on your notifications. You're welcome here at The Wealth Path, where you'll learn everything there is to know about money, investments, and business. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you in the next video.